The 37th Siddhi, Tenderness, the Sacrificial Lamb. To enter fully into the mystery of the 37th Siddhi, we will have to move more deeply into the mythic figure of Christ. Although there have been other figures with a similar mythology to Christ, such as the Norse Odin, who was hung from a tree, or even the Egyptian Osiris, whose body parts were scattered far and wide, the figure of Christ and his exact mythology has entered so deeply into the world psyche that it has a particular resonance with the times in which we are living. One needs to be clear from the beginning that we are not talking here of the Christ as he is generally understood by the Christian religion. We are looking at this man's life as a symbol of a deep archetypal process that governs all human beings, regardless of their beliefs or culture. As the second aspect of the mysterious Trinity, the Christ unites the two polarities of the masculine Father, prime Yang, and the feminine Holy Spirit, prime Yin. This is why Jesus is said to be both the Son of God and the Son of Man. He is the offspring of both Yin and Yang, and is therefore the great equalizing force between them. We have seen that the 37th gene key represents an evolutionary phase that is now coming to an end, which means that something new must also be born from it. The Christ myth itself must give birth to another dimension, and this dimension concerns the role of the feminine. As the story of Christ is currently understood, Jesus is seen as an embodiment of the divine man, born of a virgin womb and untarnished by sexuality. In the popular story, Jesus has no sexual encounter or attachment to women whatsoever. He stands alone as a proud and potent symbol of the patriarchy that sculpted this understanding of his life. However, without wishing to offend exponents of the popular version of the Jesus story, this interpretation of Jesus is somewhat sterile in terms of its connection to human sexuality. In the Christic myth, Jesus is pitted against sexuality in the form of the devil, and the devil has obvious connections to the feminine through the earlier myth of Eve and the serpent in the Garden of Eden. The 37th Siddhi is the city of tenderness, and tenderness is a quality most often associated with the exchange of love between a parent and child. Tenderness, in particular, is an archetypal motherly essence. Jesus himself is universally connected with the figure of the Lamb, whose essence is represented by the 37th Siddhi. This lamb has a deep symbolism with our coming age because it represents the spirit of surrender to an overwhelming inner power. The sacrifice of the lamb corresponds to the giving up of identification with outmoded outlooks and the embrace of a wider reality that lies beyond our current view. We, humanity, are the lamb, and the universal spirit holds us in tenderness as a mother cradles her child. As individuals, we each have to bow our heads and accept the devil within us instead of pushing it down deeper into our psyche. The very thing that terrifies us the most will utterly transform us if we can but trust it. It is the course or the source of our sexuality, the dark feminine shadow place within every human being that contains this greatest mystery of who we are and what we can one day become. The 37 gene key has emerged into our current world through the sacred sacrament of marriage. It became sullied and stagnant through its manifestation as a social contractual convention. The marriage we see in the world today is but a shadow of the true inner ideal of marriage. On an individual level, marriage concerns the inner balance and union of yin and yang within each human being. The Christ myth must therefore reflect this inner union through the marriage of Christ to his sacred bride, represented by Mary Magdalene. The modern resurgence of ideas that explore Christ's connections to the figure of the Magdalene can be seen as a reflection of the resurgence of the repressed divine feminine. The city of tenderness is the awkward aura of this mystical union, since tenderness is an energy devoid of tension or sexuality. It is, in fact, the transcendence of sexuality. A great paradox is emerging through this 37th city. The divine feminine will primarily enter the world through men via the power of the mother. The collective imbalance of the feminine archetype is not to be found in women, but in men. The counterbalance to this is the rising of the masculine force of independence burgeoning in women. It is through women's independence that a new social structure will be born in the world that will place the early upbringing of children before all other factors. When children are nurtured by both mothers and fathers, the mothers and fathers are properly supported rather than torn apart due to social tensions. Then children will come into this world emotionally balanced. The 37th city of tenderness is the natural climate that surrounds all parents and children. When boys are brought into the world surrounded by this support and tenderness, their feminine side will no longer be compromised, and the world as we see it will begin to change as these boys grow into emotionally balanced men. Conversely, it is through future young girls that great social change will be brought into the world. Energetically speaking, it is the feminine that carries the vision of synthesis and the masculine that will build it. This is the generalized blueprint of future society. It will be a world in which the masculine principle serves the feminine principle. So what we are now seeing is not a decline of the family unit, but a complete redefining of what family really means. Family is the structure that creates an aura of tenderness across the planet, empowering individuals and supporting communities simultaneously. In the future, family will no longer be an isolated tribal phenomenon, but a collective breath pattern that unites all human beings. This is the future that is coming. It is the same vision that Christ held as the natural state of humanity. It is what he referred to as the kingdom of heaven. The 37th city is unique among the cities in that it does not manifest through a single individual. It is the heart of the human family, drawing all individuals into its infinitely soft and loving embrace. It is not a force outside of humanity, as we have assumed for so many eons, but is our collective inner nature. As a vital aspect of this genetic codon, family known as the ring of divinity, the 37th gene key has some very powerful genetic programming companions: the 22nd city of grace and the 36th city of compassion, and the 63rd city of truth. Each of these codons brings the eventual manifestation of the full divine being into this world. As we move beyond the tribal and blood definitions that have dictated our traditional lifestyle for so long, we will see how limiting our current definition of family really is. The 37th city is an upsurge of consciousness that will slowly unite human beings as the 55th gene key frees us from our victim consciousness. Tenderness is a force to be reckoned with, and as its programming partner, the 40th city of divine will testifies, it is a force that has us all set in its sights. In its very softness, it is insurmountable, invincible, and inevitable.